So today's guest is a special guest. His company was recently acquired by Turner & Townsend, and now he's parlaying his 40 years of experience to share wisdoms to the masses. Today's guest is none other than Mark LaScola. First, I just want to say, I saw your talk the other day. We actually filmed it.
Yeah, I paid him, just so you know. So this is a paid advertisement. He did a great job, by the way.
Thank you. No, but I just want to say, I have friends who, have worked at Apple and some Roku, big companies. Sure, even this microphone.
Yeah.
I've had friends that worked all around, and what I've seen is they talk all about consultants that come in and spew all this BS, and they make it seem like it's their decision, and all this sort of manipulative kind of money grabby stuff.
Yeah, it's cajoling, it's manipulation, it's
right.
Look at my hand now, look at a sleight of hand. It's
so I feel like most people in a workplace hate most consultants that come in. We
face that all the time. They
have this weird kind of feeling or inclination towards consultants that just come in and say, this is what we're doing now.
Well, it's a traditional model. I know. So think about the irony of this, because it disgusts me.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm being over dramatic.
No.
I'm not being dramatic enough, actually. Think about this. You're in a company. They hire you. They hire good people, come in and make the company better. And the company's not firing on all cylinders. So what do? They don't turn to their people and say, tell us how we fix this. They go outside and get a consulting firm.
So they tell them.
A la McDonald's or McKinsey or BCG or Deloitte or Accenture, and then what you get is 1,000 consultants, green MBAs, crawling around like ants on a picnic basket, through their own perception, creating some solution that's typically they just applied the same solution down the street at some other company.
Yeah.
And they come back with a 300 deck PowerPoint deck saying, here, do this.
Yeah.
And people are like, what the hell?
You said something
sense.
there. You said MBAs.
Yeah, well, it's not always just MBAs,
but most of them at these big consulting companies come from MBAs. They have MBAs. They come from college,
right?
But they don't have real people, or I feel like they don't have real people or business skills. Even though you have an MBA, I don't. You know what I'm saying? Like you've been in the trenches. You've worked with families. You've worked with.
It's not always fair. I think your point is. I think it's about knowing how to use less experienced, enthusiastic, smart talent, younger talent, but doing it in the right way.
Yeah, because they're people at the end of the day. Your employees are people, and so
they're smart people. You don't hire. You screen them, you hire them, and okay, let's hire this guy.
I believe, especially from your talk, the biggest contributor to success in a company is the people. You know what I'm saying? And so if you don't have someone...
We hear a lot about, you hear our people are, a competitive advantage and stuff like that, but companies don't treat them like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a great tagline.
Exactly. And so how can you grow a company if you don't know your people personally, if you don't make them feel like people, not just robots around the workplace. But so many times you see consultants come in and try to change things, or but I feel like they're not doing the right way. So my question to you is, how is your system different than maybe McKinsey or Deloitte?
It's a perfectly fair point. And when we go into a company, and we haven't been in there before, we get the same headwinds. Here we go, another consultancy.
Yeah.
Good metaphor is like you've met somebody you're really attracted to.
Yeah.
And maybe they've been through some tough times, and maybe relationships that haven't worked out.
Baggage.
Well, it's not baggage. It's it's like it is baggage, but it's we all have it. We all have baggage. So it's and it's like relationships. You have to peel. It's like peeling an onion, and you just don't fall in love.
Yeah.
There's excitement, but there's getting to know the person, them getting to trust your intent.
Yeah.
Your consistency, the way you show up. Mm-hmm. Are you pulling one over their eyes? All those things matter, and it takes time to melt that away to build some kind of connection and meaning.
Yeah.
So applies no different in an organization, and I'll get to why we're different. It's really common for us to walk in and people go, "Oh, consultants." The first thing is that you'd see in very practical terms is for the largest projects we have, we might have 5 or 7 consultants. That's it.
Yeah.
And we don't live there. We don't move in there. We don't do interviews.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interviews with who?
Anyone. About what's wrong.
Okay. That's
pretty weird, right?
Yeah. Well, that's unheard of, actually.
Well, what's wrong with interviews? Let's talk about what's wrong with interviews. As soon as you start doing interviews, you're taking your perception and your perspective, and I'm taking it through my conscious and unconscious bias, and I'm determining what's wrong. And then I do it with 20 people, and I come back and I say, here's what everybody said, here's what I think's wrong. Who owns the problem? Who owns the solution? The consultant, not the people. And I'm interpreting.
Yeah.
So the difference is what we do is we bring everybody in the room and they talk to each other, and we guide them through the discussion almost like they're interviewing each other, but they're working on, like, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to identify what is the root cause, and here's how you identify a root cause, and here's what an operating model is. Let's pick it apart and let's look at it and all its ugliness, good, bad, and ugly.
Yeah.
But they're doing it for themselves, and we're educating them along the way.
So for people who own businesses, how do you get your employees to have those types of conversations?
Well, that's not an easy thing,
right? Because safety, so many businesses
safety, trust,
don't do that.
right. You can't do marriage, family. You can't do family therapy on your own family. You can't do marriage therapy on in your own relationship, right?
Right.
So you need to maybe you've got a coach of sorts or somebody who can lead those conversations. But you have to create a space, a safe space, what we call the container, in a container that anyone can come in and have have conversations that are challenging, hard on the issue, easy on people. Let me give you an example. When we do a redesign, we use design teams. We can have 300, 400, 500 people in a room, all working on, and it's all orchestrated for us. We set up this process, we set up the points because we've done this so many times, but we don't get involved in the decisions. We don't step into the content of their conversations. And we'll have CEOs, executive team members working with middle managers, frontline people, interns, and they'll be chewing on a big, hairy problem, and nobody's pulling I'm the leader. So, we work with leaders to begin with and say, like, when you're in these groups, you're just one voice.
Yeah. But, I feel like a lot of employees are almost scared to
they are initially.
Give their opinion.
Well, no, they are initially. But it melts away.
So how do you create that safe space then?
Well, you set up the ground rules.
Okay.
You set the space up. You coach the leaders before we get in the room about their role. Typically, leaders have to play 3 hats. Wear 3 hats, not play. Wear 3 hats. The first hat is, I'm the leader. What I say goes. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
The second is around guiding decisions and ensuring that the work that's being done is within whatever scope or parameters have been set up.
Okay.
So someone might say, what about XYZ or XYZ? And the leader in the group might go, you remember, that's out of bounds for us. Like, that's not a parameter, but we can put it on the car park.
Yeah.
But the third thing is they're just a team member and they have a perspective. And if we see So I'm going to get to my master's degree in just a second.
Okay.
So there's preventative things that you do when you set up the group. You let everybody know the ground rules. You let everybody know the leaders' roles and the different leaders. And you let them know if we see nonsense, we see a dynamic that's not right, we're going to intervene.
So I have a question for you, Mark, because I'm thinking about a million things in my business and applying this right now.
Okay.
I have a question for you about my business.
Okay.
And I want you to answer kind of like, I don't know, you're consulting me, right?
Yeah.
If that's all right.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
If I have to pay you, let me know. But
no, water is great. Water would be perfect.
Got you right there. Already. So I'll start with an example last week. Last week we had a shoot, and my director of photography, Stephanie, she came up to me and was like, hey, I've never told you this before, but hey, we need this piece of new equipment. And I was like, okay, and I could sense a little bit of distance or like kind of nervousness when asking me, and I didn't like that personally. I was like, you should always feel like you can come to me and ask me this stuff. It was like kind of the first time she said it. And so I had a conversation with her after the shoot and was like, hey, just so you know, like, you can talk to me about anything. Like, I don't want anybody to feel like they're above anyone. Like, let me know these things because this helps us grow. Like, I didn't know this piece of equipment was bad, or I didn't know it was like faulty in this way. So thank you for telling me. And she was like, okay, yeah. And then I felt relief. So my question is,
okay, so that moment, let's just take that moment. By you doing what you did, you're creating trust and cohesion and connection between you and her, and she's learning about who she is.
Right.
See, people come into the workplace, even 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, we're all working out our shit in the workplace.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Younger adults come into the workplace with preconceived notions. This is how it should be. Who knows what training they had or assumptions or their experiences. So they bring that in. And I always say, wherever you're at, that just look at, all the data you need is right in front of you. Look at the way people behave, the way they interact with you.
Yeah.
So, and you're at the top of the heap. So, so there's this, she's got some assumptions about, that she's acting on about, well, how do I talk to a superior? And is it okay for me to do that? And what you did is perfect, because what it does is she gave you feedback, right? Yeah. It sounded like she took a risk, right? Yeah. Some self-disclosure. Yeah. You gave her some feedback.
Yeah.
Right? And you said thank you, and she was relieved, right?
Yes.
So it's like, it's exactly what we're talking about here. So imagine that in a large group. Imagine that with, 5,000 people or 800 people in a room working on solutioning their operating model.
Right.
It's quite
obviously I'm probably a small example.
No,
of
but
that,
it doesn't matter if it's 2 or if it's 2,000 or 200.
Right.
It's a perfect example. Anyway, my point here, to finish it all, is you take those 5 what we call major growth processes in groups, and you use those, you activate those to help groups of people go through the stages of group development. Inclusion to control. Control's usually characterized by storming, disagreement. Can we do that and still maintain dignity with each other and trust? Or are you going to stab me in the back? And then openness is like, we'll take on anything. We're like working together. You've seen groups when they're open, when they're in that state of openness, where they're like they don't want to almost leave each other. Like, can we keep this group going? Like, we're kicking ass.
Yeah.
Right. And we get along, we laugh, we work hard. I mean, and so those are 2 lenses that we use to kind of watch what's happening in the room and then to intervene. To create your question, to create safety and to create the space.
Yeah. So one of our 10 commandments is, nobody on the film set is above the other. The reason I have that is so that everyone feels like they have a creative say, because I I personally believe you can't come up with, creative ideas if there's kind of a ladder because you have to go through this approval and that approval. I think all ideas are valid. And so that's why I put that on one of my 10 commandments. But
That's
you
correct.
said earlier that, it's important to have that leader of a group.
It's important for the leaders, and it's important for groups to have ground rules. So your 10 commandments are your rules.
Yeah.
Like this is how, when we're on a set, this is how we are.
So is it bad?
You got to model that.
Yeah. Is it bad that that's a commandment, or, that no one's above each other? Because, I know it's important to have a leader, but still.
No, because at the end of the day, everybody knows like who's at the top of the heap. But when you're delivering to a customer, the example you gave is like equipment's not working. You need to hire people who are going to be able to let each other know what's going on and problem solve and figure things out. And you can't have everything coming through you, because ultimately this is what happens in an organization is you become a bottleneck.
Yeah.
And believe me, I've been a bottleneck plenty. I'm surprised my neck still isn't stretched out. But it's just, you got to learn how to delegate. You got to have people who can step in and step up and lean in and grab the ring. And you need to cultivate that, or you won't be a successful entrepreneur.
And there's also a big thing that I've noticed from your talks and just from speaking to you in simplicity. Everything you do is just super simple. Every methodology you talk about is just super basic, simple. You're like, no need to complicate it. Can you expand a little bit on that and the importance of simplicity in organization?
I think business life, I think you might have heard me say this in a presentation, but I'll back up a little bit. We overcomplicate everything in the workplace.
Yeah.
Everything. In fact, you hear consultants talk about the word complexity, and it drives me frickin' batty because they don't really understand what the definition of complexity is, and they think they sound like smart. Yeah. I just roll my eyes and go, fuck you. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good, man.
Sorry, audience. Forgive me for I have sinned. Anyway, it is about it. Business can be really simple. Mm-hmm. It's about understanding who your customers are. It's about understanding how you create value in a difference. And in our work and operating models, it's just not. It's work can be complex enough. Yeah. You don't need to overcomplicate everything else.
I have a theory, and I want you to tell me if it's wrong or not. But, I feel like what I've experienced working with corporate companies in the video space, I'm not like too deep into it, but what I've experienced is that the complexity comes from the people who want control.
That's not complexity. That's complication.
Complication.
Right.
But
go on. So yes. So businesses get complicated by power struggles, control.
Yes. I feel like that's where a lot of it comes from.
Who makes decisions? Who's supposed to make the decisions?
Right.
And that's typically driven by businesses are fragmented. They're cut up, and the way they're configured makes no sense.
Really? What do you mean by that? Like CEO, marketing?
No, you need a CEO and you need executive jobs. But yeah, I'm thinking of marketing, sales, supply chain, manufacturing. Those traditional setups are outdated and they're wasteful.
Really? So
totally wasteful.
So what's the alternative then?
Well, the alternative is, and I said this on my conversation with you, you videotaped.
Yeah.
The work is every company should know its value creating process and what creates value for its customers and what they're delivering. What are their products and services? And they should know what differentiates. And everyone should know that end-to-end value stream.
Yeah.
And I can tell you in the most complex businesses, complex, there's typically only 10 to 12 steps in the value creating process.
Yeah.
Period. And I'm not talking about managers managing or hiring, what we call employee life cycle things. I'm talking about the pure value creating process, end to end, is typically 7 to 12 steps.
So why is that important for everyone to know?
Because you organize around the value creating process.
Organize.
When you organize by function, marketing, sales, supply chain, that's not a value creating process.
That's true. Yeah.
That's just organizing people by like expertise.
Yeah.
And what happens is it totally fucks up an organization. In fact, here is to your listeners, let's talk about results. You show me an organization that's organized like that, that's configured like that, and I'll be able to save 25 to 40% of their operating costs, and their people will be happier. And they'll reduce waste, duplication. It's nuts. So my book, the modernizing the operating model, the first line of my book is, it's amazing businesses survive despite themselves. And this is a perfect example. Businesses waste so much money. They're set up badly. And one of the lagging indicators of a poor operating model or a misaligned operating model is unhappy people, disengaged people. But what we do is we throw HR at it, and we do cake and ice cream and balloons, and let's have different committees. Well, it doesn't solve the issue.
Yeah.
Decision making. Who makes decisions? That is an operating model problem.
So you're saying it needs to come from the core.
Well, the process of redesigning a company or a business is you deconstruct it, and then you reconstruct it from what creates value to your customers and the value creating work.
Yeah.
Everything else is nonsense.
Yeah.
Everything else you then build around it. But if you're not clear about what creates value and your value creating process and the work that creates value to do that, then you're basically just, the Brits have a term, foffing. It's kind of like fucking around.
Otherwise,
it's like you're foffing around.
Yeah, like you're just doing tasks.
Well, that's right. That's right.
Any
that's
meaning
right.
or any
that's
purpose.
Right. That's right. And here's another little tidbit for your audience, which I love. I've worked all around the world. Everybody, if you look at all the engagement data for the last 30, 40, 50 years, one of the core reasons people go to work, aside from making money and being able to provide for their families and do the things they want to do, which I think is a good thing, people want to make a difference.
Yes.
People want to make a positive difference.
Yes.
I don't care if you're in the Middle East Gulf states or if you're in, South America or you're on the Pacific Rim. It doesn't really matter. We're all the same.
Yep.
And what happens in business when we're configured badly, people can't make a difference because they're organized around tasks and they're not organized around whole work. So you've heard me talk about whole work, and this is another concept from socio-technical systems, which is just, and whole work is about not organizing around functions, marketing. Like think of marketing, sales, all those front business development, all that front end stuff where you generate demand.
Yeah.
And let's say you had 20 customers. Whole work is not marketing. Marketing by itself is interdependent with sales, which is interdependent with supply chain.
Right. What
you could do is blow up the functions and organize around whole pieces of work that, let's say, is an entire campaign that includes business development, marketing, sales, and they're organized around clusters of customers.
Yeah. But I think it's also important, for example, if someone says make this marketing campaign, instead of just leaving it as a tasks, say, we need this marketing campaign so that we can drive awareness to this, so that we can help these people and change their lives.
Well, get this, go to wherever your support is and bring support in, because they got a ton of data about demand. That's a lagging indicator that you need to bring up into sales and need to bring up into marketing. And you typically, when you're organizing around whole work, you're working in cross-functional teams. So different expertise, all seeing a part of. There's a term I talk about. I call it collective genius.
Okay.
Collective genius is also related to puzzle learning. Right. So puzzle learning is no one person has all the information. So when you're working around whole work, you got to bring all the parts of the puzzles together, whoever touches it, and look at it from all the different angles. And the more robust, the more diverse perspectives you have on an issue, the more robust the solution.
That's so true. I want to bring up Elon Musk for a second.
That wanker.
However you feel about him. Like, he's crazy, outlandish. But there's one thing I think that he does is brilliant. And it's kind of to your point is at Tesla, and he doesn't do it anymore, but he used to interview everyone he worked with, even the frontline manufacturing, people who are on, in the factories, right? He would interview all of them, and he would even go up to them while they're working and ask ideas, And I feel like every thriving organization that I've seen does that. They have some sort of element of that where they make people feel like they're making a difference or make people feel like they're part of the team. Even if you're, creating one car part all day, every day, you're doing the same thing. That person is going to be an expert in that car part. That person is going to know exactly what's wrong with it, exactly what's not.
Well, let's take it. Let's be more pragmatic. Speaking of results, let's talk about like maybe someone who does window mechanisms.
Sure.
Right, and let's say that the sales organization, let's say that mechanics, after you sell a car, have been seeing that 2 years down the road, the window mechanism is breaking down, and we're getting repairs.
Right.
That data, does that get fed back all the way back to whoever does the design and whoever does window mechanisms, and does that get fed into the person on the floor who's probably been seeing the problem?
Yeah, the whole time.
The whole time.
Yeah.
Right. You see what I'm saying? And so the key is, good for Elon Musk. I don't think much of him, but that's
most people don't.
Well, we'll have another podcast on that. But I think your point of illustrating that people are part of not only identifying problems, but solving real big, hairy problems is part of making a difference.
Yeah.
One of the things when we redesign companies, people are solving real big problems. And I've seen breakthroughs in design teams that end up being a feature in the operating model, that end up changing, it has an immortality that is beyond, it's like changing something in the world.
Yeah.
And people are so proud of that, right? Yeah. Because they said, and there are times I'll go, that feature in that operating model, see that there and see how it's working? You guys did that. Do you remember that rainy day you were in the corner and you were frustrated with each other? And I said, go off. We use these things called hit teams, and we'll gather some geniuses, individual geniuses, and they're all geniuses. We'll throw them in the corner, cordon them off, and say, everybody leave them alone. You got to solve this issue or come up with 3 recommendations against the solution criteria.
Right.
And people can be like dogs on a bone, and it's brilliant. And they solve it, and they solve it in a way that is because you're giving them the space, you're giving them the time, you're giving them the encouragement, you're giving them the tools, and you're unleashing their genius. Yeah. And they're all over it. And so you get this kind of what you're talking about, which is we're making a difference. And boy, do we make a difference. Yeah. I've seen people cry. I've seen executives cry at what their people have come up with. I have seen it many times. People are just blown out of the water.
It's almost because they feel like they should have asked them earlier.
They're touched by the level of commitment and the genius of the solution. Yeah. As I'm talking to you, I'm thinking of 10 different examples.
Right.
It's crazy.
So you've obviously had all this experience in this space in redesigning operating models, redesigning companies. What is, it could be one or two, but what are maybe just a big lesson that you've learned over the years of redesigning companies.
Give me a little more. You got to frame that a little bit more. Like lesson, like, about what?
Just your most valuable lesson that you've learned for creating success in a company.
Okay, I'll give you a couple. Or I'll give you one, and then you can decide if you want more. Someone asked me this morning, what is a leader? What should a leader know? What's one of their big decisions if they want to think about redesigning their operating model? And I said, the first thing that they have to consider is not what, but how. And they need to decide, how do we want to go about this redesign? So you've heard this term, which I'm trying to eradicate before I leave this earth, called buy-in, which I don't know what the hell that is. Buy-in is typically, I'm going to show you 50 slides and I'm going to beat you into submission, and you're going to be so dazed and confused you're going to want to just get out of the room.
Right.
I don't know what buy-in is. So we use the terms commitment or compliance. So on this operating model design, do you want to go about it in a way that builds commitment, or do you want to go about it in a way that just drives compliance? So when you build commitment, you got to spend more time up front, but you save about 25% in effort and cost and implementation. So we call it go slow to go fast.
Yeah.
Compliance is about going fast. Somebody, 2-3 people get in a room, they make a decision. Here's our operating model, isn't it beautiful? And they bestow it like a set of salt tablets from the mountaintop, and people go, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Right? And they'll go, okay, great, and we'll outlive it, and it never sticks. And so then they have to beat people into compliance. And so some things get done, some things don't get done.
Yeah.
But that's human behavior.
Yeah.
So so the big decision, one of the wisdoms that I would start with is about deciding, how do you want to go about this?
I asked you a question in our interview at our shoot about 3 weeks ago, but I want to ask you again for the audience. Why do you still do this after your company was acquired? Why still do this?
Okay. First of all, it's probably not hard for you and your audience who's listening to this to have a ton of passion for this work.
Yeah.
I mean, this is...
I can tell.
Exactly. It's really hard to sit here and not have I'm Italian and have my hands flailing all over the place, right? I love this work. And I feel like, I've not lost an ounce of passion or energy or desire to want to do it. And in some ways, Turner & Townsend did me a great service, and not just in the gift of and the surprise of a lifetime of acquiring my company, but I was so ready to be done with being in a CEO role, and now I'm just working, and it's like getting back to the things that are meaningful.
Yeah.
And so this work, and I think I said it, is my calling. It's not just a career.
Yeah.
And I'm still vibrant and vital, and I got work to do. I feel like I got work to do.
It's your purpose.
There. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's it. It's really simple. And it thrills me. Thrills me to do it.
I love it, man. Mark, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. I'd love to have you back, by the way. I feel like there's...
we could have a bottle of wine here.
Yeah.
We could have some long conversations, my friend.
Yeah. On my last podcast, I actually had an old-fashioned while I was
perfect
on the podcast.
That's cool.
So
now I'm feeling a little...
left out.
Left out, yeah.
All right, man. Until next time.
Levi, thank you for your time, and thank you to the audience. And look, everyone can reach me at mark@LaScola.com.
Yeah. And then your book, you said you had a book.
Yeah, my book that I'm writing is Modernizing the Operating Model. The subtitle, which is draft, which is the cost and consequences, what every leader needs to know about the cost and consequences of misalignment.
Okay.
And we've touched on some of those things.
Yes, we have. All right, Mark.
Thanks, Levi. I appreciate it.
All right.